This is Gus Summers, and you're watching In-Show Celebrities. This is the time I take every Monday to talk about some of my favorite films and actors. This week, we have another of Hollywood's grand talents. He's not only a major movie star, he was also a wonderful TV actor and comedian. Of course, the person I'm talking about is Mr. Billy Crystal. I remember him first on a TV show called Soap. He played Jody, the son of this neurotic, crazy family. And, his comedy fit in perfectly there. And from there, that was just a springboard to, other major films and other opportunities that just, really spotlighted his wonderful talent. Well, first up, we have the film that basically launched him into stardom. Of course, I'm talking about When Harry Met Sally. He plays Harry. Basically a pessimistic character that just looks at everything as the glass half empty. And he meets Sally, portrayed wonderfully by, of course, Meg Ryan. They finish college. They come together to take a road trip from school to New York, where they're heading. So they thought, let's come together and take this road trip. And along the way, they begin to have a conversation about all sorts of things. But the main theme in their drive there, and it becomes the main theme throughout the whole film, is the relationship between male and female. Can a male and female actually have a platonic friendship? Meg Ryan says yes, she's very optimistic, and where Billy Crystal says no, you can't. The question of sex always comes into play. Male and female can never have a relationship. Well, of course, they argue, and they finally get to New York, and they argue, and they say goodbye, and never to see each other again, with of course difference of opinion. And as we know, as the film progresses, they meet each other every few years randomly, and each time try to come together, build a friendship, and finally the last time they kind of stay in touch and start building a friendship. But what I enjoy about the film is that the wonderful idea that can male and female have a friendship that's platonic. Well, again, done beautifully, and of course, we all know the famous deli scene. No need to go into that. We're all familiar with that. But again, what I like about the movie is that it causes one to think: can I have a relationship with the opposite sex, where it's just merely platonic? Great film, great film. Of course, this is the one that launched Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan. Boom, just launched him into movie stardom there. Next up, we have, of course, another movie that's just synonymous with Billy Crystal and another co-star. The film City Slickers. He plays Mitch, who is dealing with his own crises. And he has friends who he cares about, and they end up having dilemmas of their own. And what ends up happening is that Mitch is supposed to leave with his wife to go see his in-laws and so on and so forth. But he finds out that his friend Phil, portrayed wonderfully by another great comedic actor, Daniel Stern, is having a marital crisis. Of course, he's getting divorced. And in the midst of all that, their friend Ed, again portrayed wonderfully by Bruno Kirby. What's happened is that they've arranged for them to go on like a vacation, on a cattle drive, just to get away from everything. And Mitch doesn't want to. His wife convinced him, it's good for you to go, be there for Phil, Daniel Stern, just to get out. So they agree. So he agrees, and then they go to the ranch. And they're going to take, of course, this cattle from point A to point B. And, there's all sorts of, characters in the film. All the other ones are all basically city slickers that are going out there for the weekend to bond together, to have a new experience, so on and so forth. One of the other guests on the trail is Bonnie, portrayed by Helen Slater. She's the nice girl, the innocent one, then that everyone really likes. So now they're there, and of course they have a couple tough ranch hands, Jeff and TR, and of course all of it is run by the person in charge is of course Jack Palance. So Jack Palance is the tough guy. He's the one who wears the black hat and has his head at the city slickers, and okay, it's the movie. And again, if you don't have to necessarily be a movie buff to really to know the film, because it's such a huge success. So Mitch, Phil, Ed, Bonnie, all the group head out, and they haven't been on horses. They're trying to learn how to steer the cattle. They're going through the range, the mountains, and everything. But again, it's more of a study of the character. And what I like about the film is that it goes into a little bit into each character, who they are, why they're there. There's a father and son that want to bond together. Of course, Mitch, is there for Phil, and Phil's trying to, get away from, his divorce. And Bruno Kirby is just, this is great, I want to do this. And you see how different people are brought together in the midst of an event, and as the movie proceeds, you realize there ends up being a crisis. And so, what makes them bond together, and how they meet the challenge, and how they bloom. Well, without giving too much away, Curly. Curly is Jack Palance, and there comes a moment when he's a nice guy, but he's gruff, and he doesn't talk about stuff, and you can see he's taken what seems to be a antagonistic view of Billy Crystal, but he actually likes him, because there's stuff that he talks to him about, and of course we all know that he talks about the one thing. The one thing that drives you. You have to figure out that one thing. And it's a great metaphor. I think that's why so many people liked it. Because each character, you can find yourself in one of these characters. A little bit of yourself. And you realize that all of them, and even you as the audience member, can walk away with knowing there has to be at least one thing in your life that draws you, that holds you together, that pushes you forward. Again, these last two films, again, it causes you to think. They're just not entertaining, which they are. They are not just, well acted. They are. But there is a depth to them. There's a depth to this one, and it's wonderful. And again, you find Mitch has to rise up to the challenge, and he has to encourage everybody and take command and take control, and because things happen, and at the end of the journey he figures out his one thing. And again, as an audience member, it can push you. And again, like I always say, a good film is like a good book or a good poem or a good conversation that can draw you further, push you forward, and draw you to something deeper. Great film. The last film, of course, everyone has, again, you don't have to be a movie buff to know about this film. And it's a great film. The one I'm talking about, Analyze This. you can't, whoever thought of it was perfect, because it played the stereotypes, but it did it wonderfully, because everyone was playing a caricature of themselves, especially Billy Crystal's co-star. Billy Crystal plays Ben Sobel, a psychiatrist who is dealing with his practice is boring. he's about to get married. He's dealing with his son. All these other things. And he accidentally rear ends some mob guys, and he goes, they're saying, it's okay, because they had a guy in the trunk, and he's like, it's okay, we don't worry about it. He goes, well, here, take my card in case you want me to pay for it. And so they take his card, and what ends up happening is the gentleman he ran into, his name was, two guys, but the main guy, his name was Jelly, portrayed, again, everyone knows him. He plays the same kind of Italian, mafia type guy. Portrayed wonderfully by Joe Vittorelli. Everyone knows him. He looks Italian, sounds Italian, and again, a caricature of what you think a mobster would look like. Of course, he's the assistant, the good friend of the main boss, who is Robert De Niro. He plays Vidi, and he ends up having to talk to Billy Crystal because he hits panic attack. He's been getting panic attacks, and so he wants to talk to somebody without letting them know that it's him. So, Jelly tells him, I ran into a psychiatrist here. We can see him. So Robert De Niro goes see him. Billy Crystal is talking to him. He's trying to not, he doesn't want to help deal with him because he knows who he is, and so he's, I love Robert De Niro. The opening scene is always great. He's saying, well, I have a friend. Okay, tell me about your friend. No, it's not me, it's a friend. Okay, tell me about your friend. And he tells about his friend, and he says, Billy Crystal says, well, I think your friend's dealing with anxiety attack, blah, 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 right? And Robert De Niro's out, yeah, you knew it was me all along. Again, Billy Crystal's just like, it's nothing new. But, just his subtle way of, being in Robert De Niro, you're smart. And he's like, no. He goes, yes, you are. No, yes, you are. No, yes, you are. Billy Crystal. So again, the story is about them, and them being drawn together. Situations that brings them together. Again, what I love, and all these movies I talked about, is what draws people together. These strange forces that draw people together. Here it is. He accidentally crashes into Jelly, and here's my card in case you want to get it fixed. I'm having panic attacks. I need to see a psychiatrist. The writing is easy. It's smooth. It seems plausible. It's not like far-fetched and way out there. It actually seems like it's something that could happen. So, as he's dealing with Robert De Niro, he's dealing with emotions, and there's a scene where they're crying, don't do this to me, which is funny because these are men who have to have their emotions in check. They're in a manly world, and here it is, getting him, Billy Crystal's getting him in touch with his feelings, without dragging too much into it. Another great film because you have Robert De Niro thinking that people are trying to kill him, that outside forces are out there. And there's another grand actor who plays Primo, basically his nemesis per se, portrayed again wonderfully by Chaz Palminteri. He again, a caricature of the Italian guy. He speaks with the Italian accent and then talks the way he does. Again, done wonderfully. But it's a funny look into something that could be taken very seriously, as we have seen done before, but brought in with a very gentle, light hand. And of course, Billy Crystal's just great. He is what you think a movie star should be, because he's Billy Crystal in everything that he does. You look at him, you say, it's Billy Crystal. Oh, he's doing this, he's doing this. The looks that he gives, great comedic timing. And just the films that we've talked about. When Harry Met Sally, City Slickers, Analyze This. Again, you know, they are all wonderful films as they cause you to think. They cause you to plausibly accept that the situations can happen. And of course, you know, the acting and, you know, everything. It's just, you know, wonderful, wonderful group of films. And of course, as always, you know, I never, it's only been the surface. I've only, you know, touched the surface of his grand career, and he's still going strong. Well, that's what I got for you today. This is Gus Summers, and you've been watching In-Show Celebrities. You know, this is the time I take every Monday to talk about my favorite films and actors. Of course, don't forget, please remember, every Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. Pacific Standard Time at theinshow.com, I host The In-Show. That's when I bring on celebrities and all sorts of guests just about talk about you know, their upcoming projects or whatever it is that they're doing. Of course, look for us on, you know, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, LinkedIn, Pinterest, Flickr, Instagram, all those great social media sites. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, Gus has left the building.